It was Matthew and now it was Florence. And this was the first storm that I've ever turned to my wife and said, you need to go. You got to get out of here.
Can we take this video now from Swansboro? Yeah, see, look at that. Getting a clearer picture now of what our meteorologists have been telling us all along, that we were going to see a lot of water in this storm, a lot of storm surge. And so
wow,
it's not just our immediate area, John. It's, you know, we just took a look at New Bern. This is Swansboro. This is widespread because this is a very big storm.
The eye of the storm made landfall on the North Carolina coast near Wrightsville Beach at 7:15 a.m. this morning. And we've seen wind gusts in Wilmington as high as 105 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's the rooftop of Hurricane Alley's. Look at it, just moving back and forth. I don't know if you can see this reporter. There's a news reporter hanging on to a pole just below us near that ice machine, and he ain't playing around. As we found out, with wind speeds in excess of 90 miles per hour, it's easy to lose your footing. He's trying to do a live shot there. That's bad news because we've seen a couple of those light fixtures blowing around.
Unbelievable images here of the Curry Beach Pier. Damage in the middle, as you can see there, and we've got damage up here up front. This is the oldest pier in the Atlantic, built in 1923, completely washed away back in 1954 by Hurricane Hazel, and it is taking a lashing.
Wow, would you look at that? And here's what's scary. As bad as that looks, our meteorologists are telling us that we could see far more flooding before this is all over with.
And really, our entire viewing area is going to be susceptible to torrential rainfall, life-threatening rainfall.
The trees are going to pull this way. At that point, we expect that a lot of these big tall pines and a lot of other trees are going to start to come down. I can see the Shallotte River from where I am, and that river is rocking.
We've had a tremendous amount of damage in the community. We've also had 2 fatalities here in the city from a tree that fell on a house.
As massive trees uprooted across the region, crashing into streets and homes, firefighters knew that calls like this would be inevitable this morning. 3 people, a couple and their 8-month-old baby, trapped. Firefighters desperately working to clear a path to the victims, who they could hear and speak to. At least one pinned by debris.
We have, as a Plan B, requested a surgical team out here to help us in case an amputation is required.
As firefighters worked to save them, loved ones arrived on the scene, overwhelmed by the situation. And then finally, some good news. The father freed and rushed to the hospital.
After we saw that first victim come out on the gurney conscious and talking to paramedics, we held our breaths hoping we would see 2 more victims successfully taken out. Instead, after a few minutes, firefighters began to file out and their faces said it all.
Nothing will have an impression on me as much as the firefighters who were kneeling and praying the morning the mother and her baby were killed after a tree fell on their house. These firefighters always want to save lives, and I think they really wanted to save this family. They were able to save the husband, but not the wife and the small child, and I think it hit them so hard, but seeing them all kneeling and praying is the image that I will live with for the rest of my life.
These are guys that face this kind of stuff every day. You know, they're the ones that run to the disaster when everybody else is running away. And to see them go in, and yes, they told us afterwards, yeah, they did save a life, but they lost you know, they couldn't stop a mom and especially a baby from dying. And when they came out and you see them around in prayer and how much they were in pain because they couldn't save that baby and that woman, that took the grief to another level for all of us.
The officials are saying adamantly, you should not be out in your vehicles right now.
I'm here with an urgent travel warning. Stay off the roads in most parts of the state of North Carolina. Powerful torrents of water are flooding homes, wiping out roads, and sweeping away cars.
Jason Mills posted this. He said this is on Highway 53 near Pender High. This is exactly what you should not do. Look at that.
We're on New Center Drive between College and Market Street. We've been showing video and footage of the flooding here, and it's pretty incredible. These two cars have been stalled out since this morning, and we've actually seen drivers try to drive through here.
The water looked like it was high, but not that high. It's very deceiving how high the water is. Now I'm stalled out, and I'm trying to get some help.
It's really, really intense conditions out. We just talked to Brunswick County Emergency Management. Scott Garner there said they have had to make rescues. He's so busy right now that he wanted to let people know to stay off the roads. Look at how quickly this flooded in a matter of about 10 minutes.
If you're thinking about taking I-40 and trying to come back into the Wilmington area, I-40 is closed between mile markers 364 and 369 because of flooding. So I-40, you're not going to be able to take I-40 to get back in. And as you've seen with some of the video that we've shown, we showed this yesterday, that 74, 76 had several trees down on it to the point where that roadway was nearly impassable as well.
I knew this was going to be a powerful storm. I knew that it was going to create a lot of destruction. I had no idea it would have the impact that it did on our community. Personally, I remember the first time I was able to go back home, I didn't even recognize my neighborhood. There were streets that were covered in trees, and then when they were able to get them away, there was so much dirt and debris. The street didn't look like a street. It looked like a back road somewhere, and it looked like a war zone.
So this is the same video that Colin was just talking about in the Middle Sound Loop area. I think it'd be so scary if you're on the road right now and you happen to just drive up on this. This is why, as Colin said, you do not want to get on the road, because you'd be surprised how quickly you would drive up on something like that and not even realize it. And the curfews are in place because they don't want people out on the road.
The question I was getting the most was, hey, I am from X and I evacuated to Y. When can I get back to X? And I was saying, so I just posted abroad, like, here's my answer to that question. Not this weekend. Maybe next week, starting Monday, but with a lot of disruptions, road closures, etc.
I think going into it, we knew that we were going to be, I think that was one thing we could count on, that there was going to be flooding and there was going to be roads that we couldn't get to or go on or go places. So I don't think that part was stressful, because we had a plan and we knew how to get in touch with different officials to hear how other parts of areas that we couldn't get to were doing. And I think the more stressful part was when we were cut off with different communication, not necessarily the roads themselves.
What we saw were the trees down, and then after that, it was the lines for gas. And
the lines for groceries. We're at one of the 2 open Harris Teeter grocery stores in Wilmington. This is on South College, right across from the old Kmart near UNCW. And, you know, most people don't have to wait in a line, you don't think, to go to the grocery store, but this is the situation right now. And a lot of people say they've been waiting about 30-35 minutes. And the grocery store opened at 10 today. It'll close tonight at 6 p.m. What's going on right now is 10 people are going inside as 10 people come out. And a lot of folks, you know, have been cooped up for several days in their home without power. Some need the essentials, some just are looking for some beer. We talked to a couple people. That's really all they're looking for. The one day I had off, I think it was the Sunday after the storm, I went and stopped at the Harris Teeter by our house, and we waited 2 hours and we weren't even halfway through the line. And people had traveled there, you know, from north of Wilmington, from Pender County, just to get groceries. And I think if it had continued like that and we hadn't, you know, gotten more supplies, it would have become very desperate for a lot of people. So there was, you know, those last few days before we started getting gasoline in and fuel and power for these grocery stores, it was kind of scary to see that and see those lines for gas. People were waiting hours.
Chelsea Donovan here in Wilmington at South College and Carolina Beach Road, where it is a frantic frenzy to get gas here. We know this is a hot commodity after Hurricane Florence. The manager here tells me more than 250 people have come through here today. They opened it about 2.5 hours ago with all sorts of the gas, unleaded, premium, and diesel. They're just down to diesel now. The wait to get in here, if we can turn around and show, quite extensive. People are parked all up and down Monkey Junction waiting to get gas. It wraps completely around the corner here.
We'd already been here for several days when part of the roof here at the station gave in, and we had water coming in 4 and 5 different areas, and we had massive garbage cans collecting the water, and we literally had squeegees on the floor keeping the water from going into our server room and our master control room.
Throughout the night, literally nonstop for 2 days, there were people emptying out trash cans full of water that leaked through the ceiling, so it didn't get into our equipment and didn't get into our studio or our control room.
This has been going since like this time yesterday morning. We've just been putting different bins under here, driving it outside, emptying it, and here's, I'm gonna take you guys to the booth with me, but I'm gonna show you guys what we're dealing with along the way.
It was pretty easy for me to forget the surreal scene that was occurring just beyond the studio walls, because you're so focused on what you need to be, but then you walk out and you think, this is a disaster right here.
And then on top of that, we had a tornado warning and a tornado spotted not far from here. And people who had never been through this before, all of a sudden you saw fear in their eyes that you had never seen before.
And we have had from the National Weather Service a confirmed tornado, and we have another warning, so we're going to go immediately back to the weather folks.
But we're all kind of in the same huddle here in this hallway. I could say that the tightest portion of the rotation, Kelly, the areas you mentioned, Carolina Beach, it seems to be rolling right up Carolina Beach Road towards Shipyard Boulevard, that portion of the warning, including the WACT TV studios and the Port of Wilmington, right in the heart of perhaps the tightest rotation that we're.
This is at the point of the time of the storm where we're seeing all these tornado warnings left and right. I mean, we saw, I want to say 4 or 5 back to back in the middle of the night when people are sleeping. And that scared me because they were right here in our area. One of them was actually near my home, and that's when it hits you.
Honestly, I was really afraid. The thought went through my mind when I'm looking at my co-workers and we're lined up down a hall, and the faces of fear is paramount. I'm thinking, oh my God, I could die here.
Yeah, like for real, yeah. Yeah, you turn around, face the wall. Put your hands over the back of your head. Down.
Saturday night was the primary tornado warning night. That's when they all fell like dominoes. And we had to start practicing what we preached for that particular tornado warning. I believe the rotation was working sort of up Carolina Beach Road, Silver Lake, Echo Farms, toward our Shipyard Boulevard studios.
While properties across the Cape Fear region have been hit with the wind and rain of a hurricane, few have been ravaged by the force of a tornado.
This ditch backed up.
Steve Boggs was out of town but was watching the weather closely, making sure to call and warn one of his neighbors when tornado warnings popped up Saturday night.
I said, Tom, you need to hunker down because there's a line of tornadoes coming through. I didn't know where in Bayshore. Certainly I didn't expect it to be across the street from us.
This home on Biscayne Drive was slammed. The owner let us get shots of the hole in the ceiling, an entire section of the house missing its roof.
And part of the roof that came off was his children's bedroom. Thank God they weren't there, but just imagine if they had been there. It's horrifying to think about.
Okay, let's go to WECT's Chelsea Donovan. She is along Greenfield Street in Wilmington.
We need to go. Get us. Take us now.
Go. Go ahead,
Hey guys,
Chelsea.
look, we can see what looks like a potential looting situation here at the Family Dollar on Greenfield Street.
I had never seen anything like that here.
Actually just saw a bunch of people coming out in masks. Kristen, if you can pan over here, this is the Houston Moore complex on Greenfield Street. You can see here people coming out with items left and right, looting the Family Dollar here on Greenfield Street.
To see what happened that night or that afternoon, and then see Chelsea go into the middle of it and try to confront these people. I really became somewhat concerned for her safety and for Kristen's safety, the person who was with her shooting the video.
You can see people inside here, people with t-shirts over their heads, coming out with bags of items. You can see these people across the street in masks. This is an ongoing situation. It looks like the police are here now. People wearing Halloween masks, looting the Family Dollar here on Greenfield Street.
Chelsea is in the middle of all of this chaos. There's looting, there are people stealing, they're breaking the law, and she is right up in their faces.
Hey you guys, you know you're looting, right? You know you're stealing. Sir, you know you're looting, correct? You know that you're looting and that's illegal? You can see people coming out right now with items left and right from the store.
Don't play cop. Don't play cop.
I was speechless. I honestly was speechless. I didn't know what to say. I think I froze for a moment. I was fearful for her life. I wasn't sure what call should be made on this end. I mean, obviously, we're in the television business where we want to be live on the scene when things are happening, but that was a potential for a very volatile situation. And so, quite honestly, I was horrified.
Look across the street here, people filling up what looks like laundry bags full of items. Running, it's a mad dash around here. Let's go back to the front, Kristen.
Shooting with these cameras, I've never really shot with them before, so I'm not that experienced. So that added to the stress a little bit more because you can only see through a teeny tiny hole and you don't know what's going on around you. And I think that was also one of the scariest parts.
If you look across the street here, guys, you can see people in masks. Okay, coming back, you want us to go? You want us to stick around?
Okay. First of all, we're calling Chelsea off of that because it's too dangerous.
It's not, yeah.
Unbelievable that people take advantage of a situation like this.